let's talk about the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But hold on, we're going to skip the usual buzzwords. Instead, we're going to look at them for what they really are. A massive, concrete business plan for the future of our planet, and yeah, for your company. Okay, let's dive right in.
All right, first things first. I want to start with a number. And trust me, it's a number that should grab the attention of every single business leader, every innovator, and every investor listening right now.
$12 trillion. And I want to be crystal clear about this. That's not some government budget or, a far-off charity goal. Nope. That is the estimated size of the new markets. We're talking an annual opportunity that gets unlocked simply by achieving the UN's Sustainable Development Goals.
And this visual, it just says it all, doesn't it? Forget thinking about this as charity. This is a treasure chest, plain and simple. We're talking about huge new markets opening up in sustainable energy, in urban development, food, healthcare, you name it. This isn't just some to-do list for the planet. It's literally the biggest business plan in the world right now.
So, what are these goals that represent such a huge opportunity? Let's get into what this whole global plan is all about.
So back in 2015, leaders from all over the world came together and basically agreed on a shared blueprint for the future. The result was these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs as you'll hear them called. You can think of them as a universal game plan for people, for the planet, and for prosperity, all with a 2030 deadline.
Now, this wasn't the first time the world tried to set global goals. The SDGs, they were actually an evolution of the old Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs, which ran from 2000 to 2015. But, and this is important, this wasn't just a simple sequel. No, it was a massive shift in how we think about global progress.
So what was the big upgrade? What changed? Well, it really boils down to one key idea: universality. See, the old MDGs, they were mostly focused on challenges in developing nations. The new SDGs, they apply to everyone. Every single country, whether you're rich or poor, is on the hook. It's this recognition that all our global challenges are totally interconnected.
And here you can really see the core philosophy behind it all. It's built on 3 pillars that have to stand together: the economy, society, and the environment. The big idea here is that you can't have lasting economic growth without a just society and a healthy planet. It's that simple. You just can't have one without the others.
Okay, so if this is a plan for the whole world, where does your business fit in? Let's connect the dots between this global agenda and the private sector.
Right from the start, the United Nations was really clear about this. Governments can't pull this off alone. No way. They need the engine of the private sector, all its capital, its tech, its innovation, and its sheer ability to get things done. Business isn't just on the sidelines here. It's a core partner in this whole mission.
All right, now this is where things can get a little confusing for a lot of people. We hear these terms ESG and SDGs thrown around all the time, sometimes in the very same sentence. And look, while they are definitely related, they mean 2 very different but complementary things. Here's probably the easiest way to think about it. ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance. That's like your company's internal report card. It's all about how you operate. Are you managing resources well? Are you treating your employees fairly? Is the company governed ethically? The SDGs, on the other hand, they're humanity's destination. They're the what? The ultimate finish line for the entire world. So a strong ESG performance is the well-tuned car that helps get all of us there.
And this all leads to a really critical choice for every single business out there. The SDGs are like a 2-sided coin. They present 2 very, very different potential futures, and it all depends on how you react.
And this image, wow, it just captures that choice perfectly. On one side, you've got that treasure chest of opportunity we talked about. But on the other side, it's a wall, a massive trade barrier. So for companies that are prepared, the SDGs unlock incredible value. But for those who aren't, well, they're quickly becoming a huge risk.
Okay, let's look at that opportunity side again, just for a second. When you align with the SDGs, you can unlock those massive new markets. You can drive some really profound innovation, and you're going to attract both investment and top talent. It's really about future-proofing your business by weaving it into the growth story of the 21st century. Now for the other side of that coin, the risk. Look, these goals aren't just polite suggestions anymore, not by a long shot. They're being written into law. We're seeing things like the EU's new rules that hold companies responsible for their entire supply chain, or carbon tariffs that actually tax products based on their environmental footprint. If you ignore this new reality, you are literally risking being locked out of major global markets.
So the big question is, right? How do you make sure your business lands on the right side of this global shift? How do you turn these big, lofty goals into a concrete strategy that works?
The key is this. You have to stop seeing the SDGs as just a checklist for your annual sustainability report. Instead, you've got to start seeing them as a strategic compass. This compass, it points directly toward future value, toward resilience, and toward long-term growth for any company that learns how to read it.
So the path forward is really threefold. First, use the SDGs to manage risk proactively. Get way ahead of those regulations we just talked about. Second, use them as a lens to find new sources of value and to spark real innovation. And third, use them to build stronger partnerships, attracting the capital and the talent that want to be part of the solution, not the problem.
You know, when you boil it all down, it comes to a pretty simple truth. There can be no sustainable, long-term business on an unsustainable planet. It just doesn't work. The companies that are going to thrive in the decades ahead are the ones that align their own growth with the well-being of humanity and the environment. So the question for every leader listening is simple. Are you just operating in the world as it is today? Or are you actively building the world that needs to exist tomorrow? Because the 2030 clock, it's ticking.